So let's just begin to turn inward, starting to pay attention to our senses, noticing our sense of hearing, noticing the sounds around us, near and far, allowing them to drift through us. And moving that attention on to our sense of smell, noticing the smells in the room. There's no need to identify them, just allow them to be. And moving that attention on to our sense of sight. Just focusing on that screen at the back of our eyelids with our eyes closed. Noticing what it presents to us. Just staying with it for a moment. And allowing that attention to move on to our sense of touch, becoming aware of our connection points with the earth, feeling the earth holding us, noticing the texture of our clothes on our skin, the temperature of our skin. And now bringing that attention to our breath as we breathe in through our nose, into our belly, and out through our nose. And let's bring a little bit of balance to our breath as we count on the inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. We notice that little space between the inhale and the exhale, and we exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. So counting in time with your own breath up to 4 on the inhale, holding it for 2 before the exhale to a count of 4, holding it for 2 before an inhale to a count of 4. Taking 3 more breaths like this. And then raising the right hand, putting the first finger of the right hand onto the side of your right nostril and just closing over your right nostril. Let's just breathe through our left nostril. Gently inhaling and exhaling through that left nostril. And taking the right hand down. Let's take the left hand, putting the index finger of the left hand onto the left nostril and breathing through the right nostril. You might notice that breathing on this side is a little easier or a little harder than on the other side, and that's perfectly normal. Our two nostrils work slightly differently. And taking the left hand down, let's take 3 more breaths here through both nostrils. And bending up the knees if they're not already bent. And let's just hold on to the backs of the thighs, so lifting the legs up so your shins are parallel with the ceiling. And let's just circle the ankles. First in one direction and then in the other. And coming to stillness, putting our hands, keeping them on the backs of the knees. Let's just raise up the right leg and bring it back down so the shin is parallel with the ceiling once more, and then raise the left leg. So it's just a gentle lift up and back to waken up the knees. And coming to stillness, putting your hands onto your knees. Let's just draw big circles with the knees. And then in the opposite direction. And allowing the feet to come to the floor. Let's just raise the arms up over the head and bring them back down by the side. And once again, up over the head and down by your side. And one more time, raising them up over the head and back down by our sides. And we're just going to roll over onto our left hand side and putting your left arm out straight so your ear is resting on the upper arm. And we're going to try and straighten our body here so it's nice and straight all the way. And let's lift our right hand up and put it on top of our right hip. So we're in a big, long, straight line. So think about here just lifting. Let me just hold up my shirt a little bit so you can see. I have my waist up away from the floor. Let's take that right arm and lift it up in the air. And let's slowly bring it down to the earth in front of us. And lifting it up. So notice how you have to balance yourself as you move that arm up and down. Lifting it up once again and bringing it all the way down. And one more time on this side, lifting it up and bringing it all the way down. Good, let's roll that over to the other side. So again,
coming into a nice straight line, bringing your right arm all the way up over your head, resting your right ear onto your right arm so you're in a nice straight line, putting your left hand down on top of your left leg, keeping that waist up from the floor and raising that left hand up, bring it down, whoop, in front of you. Luckily I have my back to you and you couldn't see that I had to slap my hand down on the floor there, and lifting it up, and let's bring it down, and lifting it up, and slowly bringing it down, and one more time, lifting it up, and slowly bringing it down. And let's roll it over onto our tummy, stretching our arms out nice and long here, so we've got a really nice length all the way down our body. And just noticing the movement of our body as we breathe here. Taking one more breath. And bringing the arms in. Let's push it up onto all fours. Let's do a couple of little cat-cows here to waken up the spine. So tilting that pelvis, dropping the belly and opening up the chest. And then curling through from the tailbone all the way up the spine, through the neck to the crown of the head. Let's see, can we sync it with the breath as we inhale? Tilting the pelvis, opening the chest, looking forward. And as we exhale, curling all the way through from the tailbone. Let's take it 2 more times. And one final time. And coming to stillness. Let's take the right foot and just step it up, and step the left foot up, bending those knees. Let's come all the way up. Good. From here, just clasping both hands together, standing up tall, reaching up nice and long, and remembering as you inhale to find space in that spine, finding length. And allowing the arms to open down, bringing them onto the hips. We're going to come up onto our toes. Let's see, can we find a balance point here? Find a little gaze point, holding your gaze there. And when you've got your balance, start to bring your arms out and up and clasping them together. Trying to hold it still. Two more breaths here, trying to stay up on your toes. Just one more breath. And allowing the arms to open out, coming down onto your feet. Good, and you can shake out the legs there. And let's raise those arms up again, clasping the hands together. Let's take a nice gentle bend over to the left. Feeling that space open on the right hand side of your rib cage, breathing into that. And 2 more breaths here. Let's come up straight and take it over to the right. more breath. Coming up tall, bringing your hands onto your hips. Let's just make nice big circles with the pelvis. Really loosening out the pelvis and the lower spine. And let's take that in the opposite direction. So you're really bringing movement into your hips. And coming to stillness, keeping that left hand on your left hip. Let's just raise that right hand over. Feeling that space as we inhale, finding length as we exhale, taking that nice bend a little deeper. And coming up tall, let's take that over to the other side with the left hand, allowing the body to move towards the right. Inhaling, finding that length, exhaling, going a little deeper. And coming up tall, let's hold on to, put our hands on the backs of our hips, keeping those feet hip distance apart. Let's just begin to raise the gaze and get a gentle back bend. If this is hard on your neck, you can keep your chin tucked in and just bring the back bend into it with your chin tucked in. Relaxing the shoulders here. Keeping up tall, let's allow the arms now to fall down behind us. That will just help to give us that little extra bend. One more breath here. And coming up tall, up to the top of the mat. Raising those arms up. Let's swan dive down, allowing the arms to come all the way around as we reach into a forward fold. And opening them up, bringing them the whole way down to prayer as we stand up. And reaching them up. Swan dive down into a forward fold and opening them up, bringing them all the way around. Coming back to heart center. And one more time. Swan diving down to the floor and coming all the way up. Good. Let's move this into our sun salutes. If you're familiar with them, go at your own pace. If you're not so familiar, stick with me. We'll take it nice and slowly. Reaching those arms up over your head. Again, swan diving down, bringing your hands onto the floor. Bend those knees as much as you need to get that low. And then come into a halfway lift with a nice, straight, neutral spine. Gaze stays on the floor as we drop forward into our forward fold and step our right leg back as far as it will go. And then drop that right knee down and open out the right foot. Rising up, lifting the gaze if that's comfortable, and bringing the hands down either side of the foot, curling the back toe. Let's step into our plank, keeping that micro bend in the elbows, those fingers open nice and wide. Good. Let's take one more breath here. And allowing the knees to come to the floor, open out the feet. Chest down, elbows in, moving through, pushing back up into your tabletop. Adjust your hands if you need to, and come up into your downward dog. And don't worry at this stage about trying to reach the floor. Keep those knees bent, keep the heels up off the floor. We just want to find nice length in the spine, hips towards the back. Good, and stretch that right leg right out behind you. Choices here. You can step it all the way through, or if you prefer, you can come down onto all fours and step that right foot. Open out the left foot. Left knee stays on the floor. And rising up. Bringing both hands down. We're going to step that left foot forward to meet the right, keeping those knees bent to start with. Let's come all the way up and bring the hands down towards center. Good, and raising them up. Let's swan dive down and take this to the other side into a nice forward fold. And forward fold. Let's step the left leg back as far as it can go, dropping the knee onto the floor. And trying to keep that front right knee over the ankle, raising the arms up. Hands down, either side of the foot. Let's step back into our plank. Taking a round of breath here. And bringing the knees to the floor, open out the feet. Chest down, rolling through into your cobra. Pushing back up onto all fours. Curl the toes and come up into your dog. Lifting up that left leg. You've got a choice here. Come through on all fours or step that left leg through to meet your hands. Whatever way you do it, having your left foot in front, knee bent, and your right knee on the floor, raising the arms up. And bringing the hands down, either side of the foot, step that back foot up. And let's come all the way up. Let's take it again on each side. Swan diving down, open those arms nice and wide and into forward fold. And halfway lift. Forward fold, right leg goes back, dropping the knee and rising up. Hands down either side. Let's take it into our plank. And knees to the floor, open out the feet. Chest down, rolling through into your cobra. And pushing up into your tabletop and all the way up into your downward dog. Lifting up that right leg and stepping it through in whatever way works for you. Dropping the back knee, the left knee, and rising up. Hands down, either side of the foot, stepping that left foot up to meet the front and coming all the way up and straight away over to the other side. Let's swan dive down and halfway lift. And forward fold, stepping that left leg back as far as it can go. Dropping the left knee, raising the arms up. Hands down, either side of the foot, stepping back into our plank. And from here, bringing the knees to the floor, open out the feet, dropping the chest down, rolling through, keeping that gaze on the mat, and pushing back up into our downward dog. Lifting up the left leg and stepping it through whatever way works for you, dropping that right knee, and raising the arms. And bringing the hands down, either side of that front foot, stepping the back foot up to meet the front. Let's rise all the way up and bring the hands into prayer. And hopefully you're beginning to feel a little bit warm from that. Feeling warmed up. Let's bring a little bit of balance into it. So we're going to shift our weight onto our left leg and lighten up this right leg. And let's start by just lifting up the right leg and holding onto the knee. And find a gaze point. Easier if it's low down. Hold that gaze with a soft focus. Think about pulling up through your inner thigh. Just helps to give you balance. Breathing here,
Can we take 3 more breaths? And 1 more breath. And allow the foot to come down with control. Well done if you managed it. There is no problem being near a wall, so you can just use the wall to help you get your balance. If you're feeling that you're tipping a little bit, it will just help you to get it back, and then when you feel secure, you can let go of the wall, or a back of a chair, or whatever it takes. We're going to move it into tree now. It's usually easier if you start with your hands on your hips for tree. So we're going to turn that right foot out. So again, we're putting the weight into the left leg, turning the right toes out at a right angle. And from here, you can take it as high as you want. So it can go just putting your foot onto your ankle, keeping the toes on the floor, or you can raise it up onto your calf, making sure you keep well away from your knee, or if you like, you can bring it all the way up to your thigh as I fall over. So that's why it's always good to have a good balancing thing and not talk when you're doing it. And bringing the hands into prayer. We'll just take it at the lower calf. And let's raise the arms up over our head and open them out into a big tree. Keeping that gaze point, keeping it nice and soft. And 3 more breaths here. Pushing your foot into your leg and your leg into your foot, making sure the foot's well away from the knee. Thinking about rising up through that inner thigh, bringing those hands together and foot to the floor. Bringing the 2 toes together, heels a little bit apart, bending the knee. And let's just take a twist over to the left. So we've got our chest facing that left hand wall. And coming all the way up, let's reach the arms up and swan dive down into a forward fold. And opening the arms up, coming all the way up and bringing the hands onto the hips, stepping hip distance apart. This time we're putting the weight onto the right foot and lifting up the left foot, holding onto the knee, standing up nice and tall, finding that gaze point and holding it nice and softly. Thinking about coming up strong on that inside thigh. And 1 more breath here. And allowing the foot to come down. Let's move it into a tree, turning that left toe out. So your foot's at a right angle, your knee is pointing towards that opposite wall. Lifting the foot up onto the leg, keeping it nice and open, bringing your hands into prayer and raising them up over your head, standing up tall, holding on to that gaze point, bringing that attention to your breath as you open out your arms. Two more breaths here, standing up tall, pushing that foot into your leg and leg into your foot. And 1 more breath. And bringing the hands together and all the way down. Feet to the floor, bringing the toes together, heels a little bit apart, pushing the hips back, bending the knees and taking that twist to the right. let's begin to move the legs apart, nice and wide. Keeping those toes pointing towards the front or even a little bit inward. And then bringing the arms up so we're like a starfish. Remembering here to keep that core engaged by lifting that pelvic floor on the exhale and bringing the belly button in and up. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And we're going to bring it forward into a forward fold. You can bend your knees as much as you need to here. We're going to hold on to the ankles of the legs and reach forward. Good. Bending into a nice forward fold here. You should be feeling this on the inside of your thighs. Thinking about moving that chest towards the back wall. And taking one more breath here. Let's bring the hands onto the floor in front of us. We're going to turn that right foot around to face the front. Turn your left foot inwards just a little bit, bending that right knee. We're going to come up to warrior 2. Looking out over your front fingers, thinking about engaging the core on the exhale. Good. And one more breath here. We're going to let this back hand come down onto the back leg. Turn the palm over of that front arm and reach it all the way back, following it with your gaze. Taking 2 more breaths here. Bringing that hand down onto your hips. We're just going to move our feet so they are hip width apart and both facing towards the front. Keeping that bend in the front knee. Let's step that back leg back a little bit and come into a nice high lunge. So we're up on the toes of that back foot. We've got the heel up off the floor, and let's raise the arms up. Good. Can we keep this here for 3 more breaths? And 1 more breath. Great stuff. Bringing the hands onto the hips. We're going to hop this back foot forward a little bit so that we can put the heel onto the floor. And from here into our warrior 1, keeping that front knee bent, knee over ankle. Let's raise the arms up. And remembering on that exhale to engage the core by lifting up the pelvic floor and bringing the belly button in and up. And 1 more breath here. And let's bring the arms down and behind us and just raise the gaze up so we're getting a nice little back bend. Remember, keep your chin tucked in if that feels better. And 1 more breath here. Let's just bring it forward, bringing our hands down in front of that front leg.
And begin, just if it's comfortable for you, to start straightening that front knee. So you really begin to feel it in that hamstring of the front leg, only as much as is comfortable for you. And one more breath here. And bending that front knee, stepping the back foot up to meet the front. Let's come all the way up. Good, bringing those hands onto the hips, coming onto the long side of the mat once again. Let's open those legs out, nice and wide, bringing the arms out as though we're being gently pulled from all four limbs, but in a nice way. Remembering to keep that core engaged as you exhale. And as you inhale, finding that space in the spine, thinking about a little cord coming up out of the crown of your head. Your breath filling your body with space. And let's come forward into a forward fold. Bend those knees as much as you need to get down, holding on to the ankles of your feet, of your legs. And thinking about your chest reaching through between your legs. So you really begin to feel it on those inside thighs. Breath here. Bending the knees. Let's just turn that left foot out to the front or the back of the room, depending on where you are in your room. And turning that right foot inward a little bit. Bending the knee of that front leg. Keeping that knee over the ankle. So your knee is going to want to fall in here. We've got to try and keep it out. So as you look down, you should be covering maybe your last and second last toes of your foot. And let's raise the arms up here, looking out over that front arm, keeping those shoulders relaxed. Good. Let's keep it here for 3 more breaths. Keeping it soft, keeping the shoulders soft, keeping the jaw soft. And let's bring that back hand down onto your back leg, turning the palm upward of that left hand, raising it up over your head and following it with your gaze. Lovely reverse warrior. And one more breath here. And bringing your hands down onto your hips as you just allow your feet to come hip distance apart widthwise. Still keeping that length in them. Step that back leg back a little bit so you're onto your toes. Good, and let's raise the arms up here. That's it, we're going to hold this here for 3 more breaths. Yeah, just 1 more breath to go. Bringing your hands onto your hips, just bringing that back foot forward, just enough so that you can get the foot fully on the floor, keeping that front knee bent, knee over ankle, keeping the hips nice and square. That right hip is going to want to drift back, just keep it to the front.
And raise those arms up, raising your gaze with it. Keeping the shoulders nice and soft. And one more breath here. And let's bring it down so our hands come down either side of this front foot. And if your hamstring is up for it, you can begin to straighten that front knee. Only as much as is comfortable and as works for you. And bending that front knee. Let's just step that back foot forward to meet the front. And reach all the way up. And forward fold, bending your right knee onto the floor and then your left, and coming all the way down into a child's pose to take a little rest. If this pose isn't comfortable for you, because this is a resting pose, open out your knees and put one fist on top of the other. And think about taking 10 breaths here, using that count we did at the start, counting 4 on the inhale, 2 before the exhale, 4 on the exhale, 2 before the inhale, keeping that nice balanced breath. Breath here. Coming up onto all fours. And let's curl those toes, pushing the hips to the back, coming all the way up into your dog and walking your feet forward to the top of the mat. Reaching the arms up. And let's bring the hands down onto the hips. We're going to step our right leg back. It's going straight back like a railway track. And bending that front knee. We're just going to, so you can come up onto the heel of that back foot. No, not onto the heel, onto the toe of that back foot. You can lift the heel. And we're going to raise our arms up, and this time we're going to lean forward. We're going to feel that burn in the left leg there. Good, keeping a nice straight line from your tailbone all the way up. And bringing those hands down onto the floor in front of you, dropping that back knee, open out the foot, and you can just step it back a little bit so you've got a nice stretch in the quad. Let's bring the hands into prayer and just take a little revolved pose. So let me show you on this side. This is what we're doing. So your right elbow is going on to your left knee.
Taking one more breath here. And then we're going to curl the back toe of the right foot and lift the knee up off the floor. Keeping that nice turn towards the left. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And let's allow the right hand to come down and bringing that left hand up over our ear. Good, one more breath here. And we're just gonna bring our chest parallel with the floor and bring both arms out into our airplane pose. And one more breath here. Let's bring the hands down in front. Hop that back foot forward. And from here, you can keep both hands down on the floor to start with. And just raise that back foot up off the floor. So it can come up as an inch, a centimetre, anything. Just whatever works for you. You can keep that front knee bent if that works for you too. Turning the foot so it's parallel with the floor. And if you want a little bit more, you can bring your left hand more to the center and begin to take the weight off the right hand. And if you still want more, you can raise that right hand up and turn your gaze towards the right. And taking one more breath here. Bringing that right hand down, allowing the left hand, the right foot to come down, and bring both knees onto the floor, coming back into your child's pose. Well done. That was a lot of work for your left leg. And now you know what's coming for your right leg. Taking 2 more breaths here. And coming up onto all fours. Pushing back into your dog. And just walking forward to the front of the mat, bending the knees. The way up, hands onto the hips. Let's step that left leg back, bending that right knee, coming up onto the toes of the left leg and reaching the arms forward. Good. Let's hold this here for 3 breaths. Lovely, and allowing the arms to come down, dropping that back knee. You can step it back a little bit to get a bit more onto that quad. Bringing the hands together in prayer, let's just take that left elbow onto the right leg, back of the right knee, or side of the right knee, and take a nice twist. Good. One more breath here. Curling that back toe, lifting up the knee. Good. 2 more breaths. And opening out into your airplane. breath. Bringing those hands down either side of the foot, hopping that back foot up and bringing the full weight onto that right leg. Lifting that left foot as much as is comfortable, but turning the foot so it's parallel with the floor. If you want to move it a little bit higher, a little bit more challenging, just leaving that right hand on the floor, raise the left arm up, turn your gaze to the front, to the left. And one more breath here. Really well done if you've managed that. Bringing the hand down, that's called a half moon, dropping the back leg back, stepping back into a downward dog. Taking one more breath here. And bending the knees, letting it come to the floor. And let's swing it all the way around to the front. And allowing yourself to lie back. Just raising those arms up over your head into a nice long stretch. Taking 2 more breaths here. And bringing those arms down by your sides, bending the knees and allowing them to just flop over to the left. Bringing both arms out either side, we'll turn our gaze to the right. And bringing those legs through center over to the other side, turning the gaze to the left. To the center, just hug those knees into the chest. And you can get yourself ready for blankie time or Shavasana, whatever you prefer to call it. If you want a blanket, go and get one. Lying out nice and flat on the floor. If it's comfortable for you, turning your palms upwards towards the ceiling. And let's just begin to allow our body to absorb all of that work. And really let go. Letting go our toes, the soles of our feet, the tops of our feet. Letting go our heels and ankles, shins and calves, knees, fronts and backs of our thighs, glutes, pelvis, belly, lower back, rib cage, back and front, chest, shoulder blades,
upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms of the hands, backs of the hands, fingers, back of the head, crown of the head, forehead, eyebrows, eyes, cheeks, jaws, chin, lips, tongue, the whole of the body. Just let it go. Bringing our attention to our breath as we breathe in through our nose, into our belly, and out through our nose. And as we prepare for our total relaxation, let's just take a little moment of gratitude to our bodies, to ourselves, to each other for practicing together, to all our healthcare workers and frontline workers, and for everything we have to be grateful for today. I'll be back here again on Friday at 6. I hope you'll join me. And connecting with your breath. Let's just allow ourselves to drift to our favorite place and rest here for a while. Namaste.